exhausted from that elbow Saturday. Still wearing the eye makeup. Frank Shamrock here. A little bit different gig than saving gems, isn't it? I promise, no singing and dancing. I won't do that to you. A ton of people, a couple of my Army buddies here. Chuck Africano, Steve Lawson, guys I served with in the United States Army and wrestled with back in the 80s. Where's Glazer? I know Glazer's here, Unbreakable Jim. Who does your hair, Jay? I really need some help there. Bomba Lindsay, two-time Olympian, team captain for USA Volleyball, is here tonight. So we've got people from everywhere here. Hi, Ivan, what's going on, man? Love the Bulgarian bag. Kicks my ass on a regular basis. Thank you, appreciate it. Again, it's a true honor for me to be here tonight as your host and MC. This event dedicated to preservation of man's oldest and greatest sport. Many spend their life searching for their vocation. The word vocation comes from Latin, vocare, to call. To have a vocation is to have work you feel you've been called to do. The sport of wrestling found me at the age of 10. My best friends, older brothers, were wrestling at the district meet, and they thought it would be funny to throw me and him in the novice tournament for shits and giggles. Neither one of us had wrestled a day in our lives, but I pinned a kid with a headlock and I got my first bloody nose. It was amazing. I grew up in a single family household. My mom worked several jobs to take care of 3 kids, and I'd heard my entire life how tough my dad was and what a great wrestler he had been. So somewhere in my young mind, I decided that maybe through wrestling I'd get his attention. So that next year I showed up at junior high school and I turned out for the team. Well, that didn't work. My father never saw me wrestle, not one single match, but I found my vocation. I found my calling in life. And here we are. Through the course of my journey in this sport, the many highs and the many lows, I have learned some very important things. And it's these things I'd like to share with you and why I feel the sport is so important for this country's future and the generations to come of men and women. Aristotle believed that courage was the first human virtue because without that, none of the others were possible. For me, as an 11-year-old, courage started with donning the uniform that was compulsory in that era. A pair of tights and a singlet. And walking out into the center of a gymnasium on a mat full of my peers to face my opponent. That journey and that hard-won courage from wrestling culminated for me in walking out into an arena full of 55,000 people in nothing but my board shorts to face an opponent that may or may not kick me in the head and knock me out. I began to understand that I was free to define who I was at every moment. I was not what society and randomness had made me. I was what I had chosen to be from the depths of my being. I was a product of my will in the deepest sense. One of the biggest issues I see today is that people limit themselves. We create defense mechanisms so that we can limit the amount of fear we experience. This keeps us from reaching our full potential. I began to realize I couldn't change the way I think. I must change the way I will. I had to gain control over the patterns in my brain. That is the zone of fundamental change and strength and the true meaning of courage. I wish I'd have figured that out a little sooner and applied it to my personal life. I might have avoided a couple of divorces, but the next thing I learned as I progressed through this sport as a wrestler was dealing with perfectionism. Striving for excellence is self-focused. How can I improve? Perfectionism is other-focused. What will they think? Perfectionism is a hustle. It hampers success. The truth is, perfectionism is ultimately self-destructive because the reality is, perfection simply doesn't exist. Through wrestling, to try and make 4 Olympic teams and coming up short, I learned I would not be happy if I was in search of an achievement. You won't be able to judge most of the things you do by a standard of perfect or imperfect. Your standard will simply have to be better or worse. You must accept that you are imperfect and always will be. Your quest is not to be perfect or perfect yourself, but to better your imperfect self. Better sounds pretty good to me anyway, doesn't it? One of the most important things I developed through the ups and downs in this sport is resilience. Resilience is the strength that enables people to move through hardship and become better. No one escapes pain, fear, suffering, yet from pain can come wisdom. From suffering can come strength. And if you have resilience, all of those attributes you can learn, no trait is more useful for survival and more likely to improve the quality of your life. Than the ability to transform adversity into an enjoyable challenge. When you reflect on your hardships, you often uncover a similar truth. That struggle helped you develop a deeper reservoir of strength. That is true resilience. Wrestling taught me that there are a few things human beings need to live well. You need to breathe, sleep, drink, eat, love, and I would add to this list struggle. We need challenges to master, problems to solve. If we're trapped in a life where everything is provided for us, our minds fail to grow, our spirits deteriorate. We all need something to struggle for. The aim in life is not to avoid struggles, but to care about the right things. Not to live without fear, but to confront worthy fears with force and passion. What you will become is a result of what you will endure. And I save the best for last. The most important thing I believe this sport breeds is humility. I start with humility, I act with humility, and I end with humility. Humility gives me the clarity. Every single person I meet, I believe, is superior to me in some way. And through humility, I keep an open mind and an open heart, and now I'm free to gain that wisdom and learn from that person. Act with humility. Start with it and end with humility. Thank you, and I'll end you with one of my favorite poems by Tyler Knott Gregson. Be brave, be bold, trust in your heart. It knows things you cannot imagine. Trust that it understands better than you can ever realize. It can never be brave if you never feel scared. It's going to be a great evening. Let's have a great night. Thank you guys very much. I look forward to seeing you after dinner. Let's see some chow.